yetimdir ve tensiz insanlar da yetimdir.
Со жерін ойлап армандап, мен келгеннен кейін 2 жылдан кейін қайтыс болып кетті.
Тяга какая-то. Родственники, родина.
Будем живы, не помрем! Люба! Люба! Люба!
Лёва.
There are over 100 ethnic groups living along the Silk Road. This area is also called the Passage Through the Grassland. Here, we can almost hear the many displaced people's desperate calls of longing for their homelands. During the 70 years of Soviet rule, this road was used by displaced people fleeing from their countries. It was a passage of despair and sorrow. Even after the fall of the Soviet Union, now that the national borders have been redrawn, the displaced people are still asking, "Why am I here? And where is the homeland that I can't help but long for?"
Pachemevi nahoris desi.
Это дорого. Дорого, трудно очень. Очень трудно.
Otan Kaiser buradı. Otan Kaiser buradı. İstigini sadamızı. Ya cana çıkayda.
Long ago, the rise and fall of nomadic nations occurred along the Silk Road. During the last century, the Soviet Union controlled this area. After its collapse, 6 nations were formed in this region. We traveled along the passage through the grassland from one of the new nations, Kazakhstan in Central Asia, to the southern part of the Russian plain, 4,000 kilometers west.
원동리에서 강중 이주된 10월 초여름날
Even though this is called a grassland, it is actually an endless wasteland. In the sparsely vegetated pasture, a group of wild horses are running freely. Our journey begins in the Republic of Kazakhstan, the homeland of the mounted nomads. Trucks and buses crowd the town of Korgos, located in the far east of Kazakhstan along the Chinese border. People are coming and going across the border. Since the discovery of a huge oil field in Kazakhstan, China has developed strong ties with the country in hopes of tapping this precious resource. Another bus from China arrives at the terminal in Korgos. A young girl dressed in fancy clothes is in this car. Carrying all their belongings, this family has just migrated back from China to Kazakhstan. After the independence of their homeland, many displaced Kazakhs have been returning home, with their numbers now reaching over 400,000. They have been called Oralman. In Kazakh, it means returning people.
Қытайдың қай жерінен?
Сауан ауданынан.
Сауан.
Сауан. Қазақстанға.
Қай жерінен?
Туғанбай ауылына барамыз.
We follow the Murat family west along the Silk Road. In the Murat family, the grandfather's generation left Kazakhstan to live in China. This is the first time the family has returned to Kazakhstan.
Бұл жақта енді сезім келгенде біз енді өз елімізге, өз туысымызға келгендей болдық қой енді мына шетіне. Бірақ екелдің мына достығы жақсы, әрбір көші-қон жұмыстары дегені бұлар енді жақсы істеп жатқан үшін екелдің бұл.
The Murat family are heading to the home village of their deceased grandfather, which is located 300 kilometers inland. Some family members are still there, waiting for their return. Among them is an 83-year-old great-aunt. She is the only person who remembers their grandfather. Until 74 years ago, their grandfather and the great-aunt lived together like siblings. However, a sad event tore apart their lives. "74 years ago, Grandpa Murat was grazing his animals in the grasslands of Kazakhstan. One day, all his animals were confiscated by the government, and he was ordered to live on a collective farm. It was a new policy of the Stalin regime. In the name of the planned economy, Stalin reorganized all potential workers within the entire Soviet Union. It is said that over 5 million people were forcibly relocated and put to work for the government. At the collective farms, people lived under harsh conditions. The government took most of their harvest. It is said that Kazakhs lost over 2 million lives at these work camps. In order to survive, Mr. Murat's grandfather escaped from the farm and fled 1,500 kilometers to China. After his escape, he was permanently separated from the great-aunt. They have been driving through the wasteland for over 4 hours. They finally arrive at the grandfather's home village. The Murat family has difficulty finding the great-aunt's house, with little to guide them other than an address they received in the mail. This village doesn't have any phone service, and cell phones don't work here either. It's around 1 a.m. The family gets out of the car because a villager has told them they are close to their aunt's address. But to find the exact house, they break up into small groups to visit each home in the area, one by one. It's the dead of night, and a house at the edge of the village turns its lights on due to the commotion outside. Someone is coming. It is their family, who have been eagerly awaiting their arrival. However, they are greeted by some tragic news. Sadly, the great-aunt, with whom they had hoped to talk about the grandfather, had passed away. Two months before their return. Their homecoming gathering does not start until after 2 a.m. It took 74 years for the family to reunite. They sing improvised songs expressing their feelings. This displaced Kazakh family gave up everything they owned and finally returned to a homeland they had never seen. What is the importance of having a homeland? Searching for the answers to this question, we head further west. We have learned that at the end of the wasteland, there is a settlement. The town, named Ushtobi, was created by Stalin's forced migration plan. Now, many residents have fled to the large cities, and only a few houses remain. After the fall of the Soviet Union, almost all factories were closed, and the number of shops at the bazaars were reduced in half. At the corner of this bazaar, we find peculiar foods. A homemade meal, similar to the Korean spicy vegetable kimchi, is being sold under the name Oriental salad.
Мы все кореянки. Только они по-русски только знают, по-корейски не знают. Вот такие кореянки. Некоторые остались. Ну вот я осталась, вот самая старая. Вот и здесь я умру. Все. Вот это, за это много. Ну сейчас корейцев вообще мало. Все разъехали. Ну вот кто остался, вот еще мы живем. Еще мы с ними же дружно живем, как братья и сестры. Правильно?
The women who talk to us call themselves Koryo Saram, which means Korean person. During Stalin's rule, more than 50 ethnic groups in the Soviet Union were forcibly relocated to Siberia or to Central Asia. Koryo Sarams were transported from Primorsky Krai, a state along the coast, 5,000 kilometers away. They were squeezed into animal cargo trains and transported to Ushtobi. Right before World War II, Japanese spies entered the USSR along the East Coast. Because of their physical resemblance to the Japanese, Koryo Sarams were ordered to move out of their homeland for security reasons. That was the only reason they were shipped to Ushtobi. We meet two Koryo Sarams who remember the forced migration. Mr. Mikhail Chen was 11 years old at the time. He remembers that he survived starvation by eating grass. Mr. Nikolai Kim was 17 years old. He can't forget the young children and old people who died, one after another, from malnutrition and the harsh, cold winter.
Что подумали? Они представители высшего, куда надо, вот, где это, погребы были, можно туда, и землянка были, и можно, вот эти казаки, это сарай можно, выселили это сюда.
70 лет незаметно прошло, незаметно, потому что все время работали на производстве, поэтому же, видите, вот раньше уходили на пенсию, как 60 лет выполняется, так уходили на пенсию. Всем молодец. Молодец.
Уже старые люди, все памяти абсолютно нету.
Mr. Kim shows us his notebook, in which he has written the Korean alphabet, Hangul. This notebook has offered Mr. Kim moral support in the wasteland.
다 쓸 때. 지금 무슨 어제 한복씩 출신해서 고무산천을 떠나서 수천리 타양
This song is about feelings of longing for one's homeland. In this settlement during the Soviet era, use of the Korean language was forbidden. People sang this song secretly to mourn a friend's death or after a hard day's work.
고고산천을 떠나서 수천리 타양이 산서고 물숲 사양이 애를 정하고 섭섭한 생각은 고향뿐이요 다만 생각나노니 전능이 친구라.
Where is the long-lost homeland of the Koryo Sarams? Mr. Chen goes to a place where he can express his feelings. The barren hill where he used to dig to build pit dwellings and to bury the dead. Mr. Chen now considers this hill to be his homeland.
Вот старый кладбище уже. Вот. Вот это старый кладбище. Вот.
There are over 100 grave markers.
И вот старый кладбище. Вот.
All of them were his countrymen, who had been sent here with him. Mr. Chen visits the graves, one by one.
Ну, можно сказать, что этим покойникам, что спасибо, что они вот это столько трудились и вот это рисовые поля сделали. Мы сейчас ради, что они вот это для нас сделали, мы сейчас живем в Казахстане хорошо. Что лишь можно на их могилу прийти, только поклониться за их труд. С Казахстана уже никуда не хочется выехать.
고고산천을 떠나서 수천리
His homeland is now the place where his fellow countrymen lay at rest.
물숲 사양이 애를 정하고
These are the voices of the people who vowed to stay till death at this place, far from their original homeland.
고향뿐이요 다만 생각나노니 전능이 친구라.
Many have left this settlement. We come upon a family who is living as if buried among the abandoned houses. At the west side of the house, there are purple flowers placed on the fence. We knock on the door, but no one answers for a long time. This Chechen family was also sent here during the forced migration, similar to the Koryo Sarams. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Chechnya declared independence, which triggered a fierce war with Russia. This is Mr. Hassan Mahmoud, the head of the family. While many of his fellow countrymen left to fight in the war, he didn't leave this village.
Здесь никто не гонит. Кушать есть, работать есть, одеваться есть. Просто тяга какая-то. Родственники, родина.
То, что там, да?
Да. В Кавказе-то позорно навязанная война. И не знаем, когда она кончится. Что можно предпринять здесь? Лучше достойно умереть, чем позорно жить.
After searching for an answer for a long time, he decided not to go back to fight in the war because of his family.
Эту войну сколько невинных погибло, первую войну сколько невинных погибло, очень много погибло. Одна женщина имела 5 детей, пацанов. Первую войну это. В 94 году. Старшие все ушли, 5 пацанов. И в сарае стояла корова. Она пошла с ведром, надоить кушать нету, молоко доить корову.
Mr. Mahmoud supports his family of 5 children, ages 3 to 17, by raising livestock.
В школе как поднимаешь руку? Кем хочешь быть? Говорите, кем вы хотите стать? А?
Я буду готовить их.
О, поваром хочешь.
Нет, пускай скажет, кем хочет стать.
Он Милхаля.
Королевой.
Королева? А?
Ничего не случилось, говори.
Я так думаю, если я отвез бы этих детей после Первой войны, вот была победа, там после Первой войны Россия же ушла, если я отвез бы детей, они бы их тоже уничтожили, они не постеснялись бы. Даже сегодня, на сегодняшний день, смело России я не поехал бы, что они что-то не придумают. Естественно, если кто-то погиб, человек не хотел воевать. Ну, бомбу бросили, его родственник погиб, он тоже потом идет воевать. От злости, он отомстит. А потом они называют такого человека террористом. Как я говорил, при царе, при коммунистах, при демократах. Вот иногда думаешь, какой власти с кем общий язык найти? Чечня им как преткновение, что ли? Россия, Россия. Счастливо?
His homeland, Chechnya, where he is unable to return, is 3,000 kilometers to the west of the barren hills of Ushtobi. After visiting Kazakhstan, the landscape has changed from wasteland to a lush grassland. Ahead, along this road is Russia's largest corn belt.
Benim adım Hatamova Nargiza. Ben 14 yaşındayım. Ben Türk'üm müzisyensi. Doğuldum Rusya'da. Ben isterdim oynamayı, Türkiye demeyi.
The southern part of the Russian plains are called the food belt of Europe. We come upon women carrying watermelons. These are migrant workers from Russia, Turkey, the Caucasus, and elsewhere. Early summer. It is harvest season in this region. After the fall of the Soviet Union, people can travel freely. Therefore, a flood of workers pours into this area.
تيدا تصرفك محمد حاجي سغلط وايو نجت هب زمان الله جاني نجي قزامة العرب جو نجت كيدا قو هب هتلاقي عرب حاط نجت كيدا وحبولlah.
89. yılda bizi eziyet verdiler. Evimizi yaktılar ve oradan nasıl diyeyim yolladılar bizi, mecburen sürgün ettiler oradan. Vatan denilen şey ana demektir. Anasız insan elbette yetimdir, vatansiz insanlar da yetimdir.
تغن خوز ووش قيادته تعبأسك تغن تخوز عووش قيادته مولة تماديوش التيراريزم تأمت بلشان تيرساق دوقش اشتعووش قيادته تغن توان بول بلچه سنگر گرنخ بوش برش دوت غي مصو شيء دعوه متجر تار حاول غرسي داس وغن تاتسناد توان بتوردو.
A river flows only 300 kilometers from the village where the Chechen family lives. This is the Don River, the famous site of the hard-fought battle between Napoleon and the Russian Imperial Army in the early 19th century. The town still reminds us of the era of the Russian Empire. Here we meet one group revived from the distant past. It is a group of Cossacks. During the era of the Russian Empire, which lasted until about 100 years ago, the Cossacks were the army who worked under the directive of the Tsar to expand his territories. But under the more recent Soviet rule, their activities were forbidden. In the past few decades, the Russian Republic has allowed them to reconfigure to maintain public order in the region. The estimated number of Cossacks is about 3 million. They are considered fanatic nationalists and are strong supporters of the Russian government.
Да, это наша земля. Земля — это Родина. Это все. Будем живы, не помрем! Люба! Люба! Люба! Молодец.
Так, ты оператору главное.
Хватает на лету.
Some Cossacks went to join the war in Chechnya. We learn the location of one of the newly created independent Cossack militias and go to visit their branch office. It is said that the number of Cossack militiamen in the southern part of Russia reaches over 10,000.
Дежурный по штабу младший Бахмутский Железский. Разрешите, господа, узнать цель вашего прибытия.
На встречу с начальником штаба пришли.
Есть. Разрешите провести?
Спасибо.
Прошу. Разрешите, господин Денисов, к вам делегат.
In the staff officers' room, there are 2 flags hanging. One is the Russian, and the other is the Cossack flag. They carried both into battle in the Chechen War. From this branch office, 18 youths volunteered to fight in the Chechen War. Some of them sport the same traditional Cossack hairstyle from back in the era of the Russian Empire. They fought the Chechens on the front line. These were brought back as victory memorabilia. This armband was ripped from a Chechen soldier whom they shot and killed.
Ну, естественно, убить человека, в принципе, первый раз не так-то легко. Ну, поехали. Я перед этим сказал, что такое казак. Это патриот. Поэтому, когда целостность страны оказалась в опасности, здесь на раздумья мало оставалось времени. Те, кто настоящий казак, те без раздумьев сразу в военкомат обратились и были призваны.
A rising wave of nationalism is spreading over southern Russia and also affects the local education. In this region, Cossack schools have opened one after another, which are supposed to be modeled on those of the Russian Empire era. This school has 300 students, including 50 girls. The uniforms are either camouflage fatigues or regimental uniforms from the era of the Russian Empire. Many girls are dressed in traditional costumes.
Господин казачий полковник, Белокалитинский мотояпладово казачий корпус на развод построенный, заместитель войсковой старшина Диденко. Здравствуйте, господа кадеты!
The Cossack schools have the formal national school permits, although they have their own curriculum. They are practicing dismantling and assembling real Kalashnikov rifles, which were donated by the Russian army.
Делай 3.
Then, they conduct an exercise simulating urban combat.
Настя, вверх смотрим.
The school motto is, "To become a foundation stone of beloved Russia."
И мне просто очень хочется облагородить Россию и все престижные такие страны, которые относятся к континенту России.
Будущее. Мы должны становить Россию на ноги, чтобы быть очень развитой страной. Спецназ, специальные войска. Спецназ, русский спецназ, клевый спецназ.
What is waiting at the end of the road for nationalists? Here is the cross standing by the Don River, the memorial for war deaths. After the fall of the Soviet Union, it is said that over 100 Cossack volunteers have died, fighting for Russia. Here, one Cossack volunteer has been laid to rest. Lidmila Kotov's brother believed in the Cossack cause and volunteered to go to the battlefield. When he left for war, his family didn't know anything.
Тут написано.
Two months later, during a military operation, he was shot in the head and died at the age of 32.
Он как сказать вам, он защищал славян. Вот так. Так он говорил. Я защищаю русских, я защищаю славян. Славянский народ. Но чтобы складывать голову, не хотелось бы такого. Вот. Поэтому я думаю, что если бы даже он был живой, он все равно не продолжал бы так же жить, так же работать, так же трудиться. Вот так.
But for whom did he die? There is neither compensation nor a Medal of Valor from the Russian government for him or his family. At the end of summer, this Cossack town is flooded with people who are enjoying a festival. This is their traditional harvest festival, celebrated since the era of the Russian Empire. Families and young lovers are all gathered and enjoying a happy moment. In the shadow of rising nationalism and the death of unknown soldiers, there is no sign of war or death at the festival. On this Silk Road through the grassland, during a trip which spanned over 4,000 kilometers, we heard numerous voices of people displaced from their homes. Each of them are struggling. Some are angry. Some have given up hope. Yet all are longing for a return. Where can people find their homeland?
Недоразумений не бывает, что какой-нибудь ссор, национальность, такого нет.
Хотел бы даже там быть. Я думаю, внутри человека находится.
Now, as ever, the displaced call out for their homeland. Can you hear them?